A very good morning to all of you. You're watching Breakfast News. My name is Aditi Nagpal Girotra. Let's get the bulletin rolling with the headlines first. Rajya Sabha to continue discussion on the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill. House to also take up Chit Funds Amendment Bill. Key bills including Taxation Laws Amendment Bill slated for introduction in Lok Sabha. Parliament to mark 70 years of Constitution Day tomorrow. This year's Constitution Day very special, says PM Narendra Modi in Mann Ki Baat. Reminds that day reinforces obligation towards upholding constitutional ideals and values for nation building. At Governor's Conference, President Ramnath Kovind says awareness campaign about fundamental duties to be launched on Constitution Day. Vice President calls for efforts to preserve Indian culture and heritage. Prime Minister highlights need to invest in research projects. Supreme Court asks Centre to produce Maharashtra Governor's letters on government formation. On Sunday, court rejected Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress demand for immediate floor test. Campaigning picks pace in Jharkhand. PM to address 2 rallies today. Congress promises farm loan waiver in election manifesto. Our top story in the legislative business in the upper house today. The Rajya Sabha will also continue discussion on the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2019. The bill aims to provide for protection of rights of transgender persons and was moved by Union Minister Tagore Gehlot last week. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Chit Funds Amendment Bill 2019. The bill aims to further amend the Chit Funds Act 1982 that seeks to streamline operations of chit funds in India and protect the interest of investors, mainly the economically weaker sections of the society. The bill was passed by Lok Sabha last week. Nirmala Sitharaman will also move to withdraw the International Financial Services Centres Authority Bill 2019 in the upper house. Our news correspondent Kriti is joining us live from the Parliament House. Let's gather more information on the subject from Kriti. Kriti, after the weekend, the session will resume in Rajya Sabha today. Chit Fund Amendment Bill and Transgender Persons Protection of Bill will be discussed upon further. But what might be the challenges in the provision of these bills?
Well, Aditi, as far as the productivity of the upper house is concerned, remember in the last week we saw the productivity that touched around 90%. In fact, last week we had the longest calling attention motion in the house in last 13 years. And also members gave constructive suggestions, more than 83 suggestions for enhancing the productivity of the house. Now, this is a new week and important business is slated to be taken up in the upper house. There's one important bill which pertains to the protection of transgenders. Remember, according to the census of 2011, more than 5 lakh transgenders are there in the country, and this particular bill seeks to provide them socio-economic as well as educational empowerment and also hikes penalty and punishment in case of sexual offences. But when this bill was discussed in the upper house, remember, members cutting across the party lines have demanded that this bill be sent to the Select Committee of the Rajya Sabha for further scrutiny. Members also demanded that there should be a commission at the national level for protection of transgenders. Now, the discussion on this particular bill is likely to continue in the Rajya Sabha, and there's also another important bill that is likely to be taken up in the upper house, which is the Chit Fund Amendment Bill for orderly growth of the chit fund sector in India and to protect the gullible investors. So these are the 2 important bills that are likely to be taken up in the upper house today. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you for that information, Kriti. We'll get back to you on Lok Sabha news, but we'll move on to the next piece of news right now. A look at legislative business in the Lok Sabha today. 3 bills are listed for introduction in the House today, including the Taxation Laws Amendment Bill 2019 to amend the Income Tax Act 1961 and to amend the Finance No. 2 Act 2019. This will be introduced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Nirmala Sitharaman will also move the International Financial Services Centres Authority Bill 2019. The bill aims to provide for the establishment of an authority to develop and regulate the financial services market in the International Financial Services Centre. The Recycling of Ships Bill 2019 will be moved for introduction by Minister Mansukh Lal Mandavia to provide for the regulation of recycling of ships. Lok Sabha is slated to take up the National Institute of Design Amendment Bill 2019 for consideration and passing too. The bill aims to amend the National Institute of Design Act 2014, which seeks to declare 4 National Institutes of Design in Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Assam and Haryana as institutions of national importance. The amendment will authorize these institutes to grant degrees and diplomas to its students, and members of opposition parties, including the Congress, will move the resolution disapproving the prohibition of electronic cigarettes Ordinance 2019. Now let's go back to Kriti, who's still live with us from the Parliament House. Kriti, what do we expect from the agenda of the lower house today?
Well, Aditi, there are important items that are slated to come up in the Lok Sabha today. One is the Taxation Laws Amendment Bill. Remember, the government has reduced the corporate taxation on manufacturing companies and also particularly on the new manufacturing companies to ensure that booster shot is being given to investment income as well as employment generation in the country, and particularly the Make in India initiative is also propelled. So this is a very important bill that would be introduced in the Lok Sabha today to actually replace the ordinance promulgated by the government. There are 2 important bills that are likely to be taken out for consideration and passage. One, banning e-cigarettes in the country. Remember, this is to ensure public safety as well as health. And the important bill that would also be introduced is the ship recycling bill. And another bill that would be taken up for consideration and passage is the National Institute of Design to accord national importance to 4 institutes of design in the country. So important agenda as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned. Over to you, Aditi.
Right. Kriti, Parliament is also marking a special event tomorrow to mark the 70th Constitution Day. Tell us more about that.
Well, tomorrow we'll see a grand program being organized in the Central Hall to actually commemorate and celebrate the journey of India as far as the adoption of Constitution is concerned. So in the Central Hall, we'll have members of both houses of Parliament, and there would be discussion on how to further uphold the constitutional principles of India. So that is a very important day that we would be witnessing tomorrow. Aditi?
Thank you so much for that information, Kriti. The 50th Annual Conference of Governors and Lieutenant Governors concluded on Sunday. Speaking at the event, President Ramnath Kovind called governors and lieutenant governors as a most important link for ensuring better coordination between the centre and states. In his concluding remarks of the 2-day conference, the President asked them to ensure that Raj Bhavans become people-friendly. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu called for the preservation of local culture and tradition and urged governors and lieutenant governors to ensure that local languages get due recognition. Calling the language as a repository of the culture of a region, Naidu urged the governors to actively encourage state governments to use mother tongue as a medium of instruction, at least at the primary school level. At the event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, governors as chancellors of universities should ensure that institutions of higher learning invest in research that fosters startup culture and leads to job creation. Referring to the development of tribal areas, Modi pressed for an appropriate use of technology and adoption of progressive schemes in the sphere of sports and youth development. PM Narendra Modi addressed the monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat on Sunday. Talking about the Ayodhya issue, PM Modi said the maturity displayed by the people after the Supreme Court's verdict proves that there is nothing bigger than national interest for Indians. The Prime Minister highlighted the importance of Constitution Day, which falls on 26th of November every year. He said the 70th Constitution Day tomorrow will be marked by a special program in Parliament, followed by many other events organized across the country throughout the year.
यह दिन पूरे देश के लिए बहुत खास है। हमारे गणतंत्र के लिए विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि इस दिन को हम संविधान दिवस के रूप में मनाते हैं। और इस बार का संविधान दिवस अपने आप में विशेष है, क्योंकि इस बार संविधान को अपनाने के 70 वर्ष पूरे हो रहे हैं। इस बार इस अवसर पर पार्लियामेंट में विशेष आयोजन होगा और फिर साल भर पूरे देश भर में अलग अलग कार्यक्रम होंगे। आइए इस अवसर पर हम संविधान सभा के सभी सदस्यों को आदरपूर्वक नमन करें।
PM Modi also urged people to make India plastic free.
पिछले कई दिनों से ये गोताखोर समुद्र में तट के करीब 100 मीटर दूर जाते हैं, गहरे पानी में गोता लगाते हैं और फिर वहां मौजूद कचरे को बाहर निकालते हैं। और मुझे बताया गया है कि 13 दिनों में ही यानी 2 सप्ताह के भीतर भीतर करीब करीब 4000 किलो से अधिक प्लास्टिक वेस्ट उन्होंने समंदर से निकाला है। जरा सोचिए, इस स्कूबा डाइवर से प्रेरणा लेकर अगर हम भी सिर्फ अपने आसपास के इलाके को प्लास्टिक के कचरे से मुक्त करने का संकल्प कर लें तो फिर प्लास्टिक मुक्त भारत पूरी दुनिया के लिए एक नई मिसाल पेश कर सकता है।
With this, we'll halt in for a quick breather, but we'll be back soon. Stay tuned with us.
Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his book Gitanjali. In 1950, he composed the music and lyrics for India's national anthem Jana Gana Mana. And when Bangladesh became independent in 1971, they chose Tagore's song Amar Shonar Bangla as its national anthem. Tagore's life and works have made him a cultural icon, studied the world over, even into the 21st century.
On how many occasions motion of thanks was amended in Rajya Sabha? The motion of thanks on the President's address in Rajya Sabha has been amended thrice, in 1980, 1989 and on 12th March 2001.
Three million people have now given the thumbs up to Rajya Sabha television. RSTV's growth has been phenomenal, with the journey from 2 million to 3 million being completed in less than 6 months. That's over 6,200 new subscribers every day. Our online viewers are engaging with us more actively. Every day, thousands like, share and comment on our videos. So come and join this growing tribe of RSTV viewers and get ready for an exciting journey.
Welcome back. You're still with us on Breakfast News. The Supreme Court will resume hearing pleas of the Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP against government formation in Maharashtra today. On Sunday, the Supreme Court rejected Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress demand for immediate floor test. The top court also issued notices to the centre, Maharashtra government, Devendra Fadnavis and Ajit Pawar on pleas seeking quashing of the governor's order inviting the BJP leader to form government. The Supreme Court directed the centre to produce the letters of Devendra Fadnavis claiming majority and that of the governor's invitation to form the government. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis held meetings with BJP MLAs on Sunday. According to senior party leader Ashish Sheller, said they discussed a strategy to win the impending floor test comfortably. NCP leader and Deputy CM Ajit Pawar also met Fadnavis on Sunday and held closed-doors discussions. In a series of tweets on Sunday, Ajit Pawar said the BJP-NCP alliance will provide a stable government in Maharashtra for the next 5 years. He also tweeted that party chief Sharad Pawar is his leader and that he would always remain in the NCP. However, NCP chief Sharad Pawar rebuked his estranged nephew, saying there was no question of an alliance with the BJP in Maharashtra. And news now from poll-bound Jharkhand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to address 2 rallies in Jharkhand today. He will address the public in Daltonganj and Gumla districts. Campaigning has picked up pace ahead of the assembly election in the state. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressed an election rally in the state on Sunday.
प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि राजनाथ जी अब हम लोगों को बैठकर सबसे पहली चिंता इस बात की करनी चाहिए कि हमारे हिंदुस्तान की जनता की जो बुनियादी आवश्यकताएं हैं, आजादी के कई दशक पूरा गुजर जाने के बावजूद जो पूरी नहीं हो पाई हैं, उन बुनियादी आवश्यकताओं को कैसे पूरा किया जाए। तो बुनियादी आवश्यकताएं हिंदुस्तान के नागरिकों की क्या हैं? सड़क है, बिजली है, पानी है, शौचालय है, आवास है। मैं दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं 5 वर्षों के अंदर हमारी सरकार ने जो कुछ भी काम किया है, बहनों भाइयों, आजाद भारत के इतिहास में किसी सरकार ने वैसा काम नहीं किया।
Meanwhile, the Congress released its party manifesto for the state elections. The manifesto promises to waive loans of farmers up to rupees 2 lakhs. And now let's talk about environment and climate change. The Economist Intelligence Unit's latest report found that rising temperature would decrease 3% of global GDP by 2050 and would directly cost the world economy $7.9 trillion. Global economy is likely to hit $250 trillion by 2050 and opposed to $258 trillion with no climate impact. While the United States will have least impact, Russia is likely to lose 5% of GDP by 2050. Developing nations fare poorer in terms of climate change resilience than richer ones. To counter this situation, all countries must rapidly decrease their greenhouse gas emissions and limit global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius. And now on to sports news. India beat Bangladesh by 46 runs in the day and night pink ball test in Kolkata on Sunday. The victory in the second test records a 12th home series win in a row. India had earlier won the first test against Bangladesh by an innings and 130 runs in Indore. After bundling out Bangladesh for 103 on the first day of the second test, India declared their first innings at 347 for 9. Bangladesh resumed their second innings at 152 for 6 on day 3 and trailing India by 89 runs. Hosts bowled out the visitors for 195 runs to register a win in the historic match. Umesh Yadav claimed 5 wickets and Ishant Sharma took 4 wickets. And before we end the bulletin, meet Mayank Pratap Singh, India's youngest judge, who has created history by cracking the Rajasthan Judiciary Services examination at the age of 21. Our correspondent Nav Vikram Singh caught up with him.
हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए मौजूद हैं मयंक प्रताप सिंह। मयंक प्रताप, सबसे पहले तो राज्यसभा टीवी की तरफ से बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और
धन्यवाद सर।
पहला सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा, इतनी छोटी उम्र में आपने परीक्षा पास की है, कैसा लग रहा है? क्या उम्मीदें थी आपको जब आपने परीक्षा दी थी?
जब मैंने परीक्षा दी थी तो उम्मीद मेरे पेपर्स अच्छे गए थे, तो उम्मीद कर रहा था कि लिस्ट में अपना नाम देखूंगा, क्योंकि मेहनत की थी। लेकिन जब लिस्ट खोली और पहले ही पायदान पे खुद का नाम पाया तो बहुत खुशी हुई, बहुत अच्छा लगा, क्योंकि मुझे लगा कि मेरी मेहनत रंग लाई, मेरे परिवार की मेहनत रंग लाई।
कितनी मेहनत की थी इसके लिए, कितनी तैयारी की थी आपने?
अब मेरे लास्ट ईयर में ही कॉलेज के 21 साल हो गई एज, तब मैंने पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया, क्योंकि तब मैं एलिजिबल हुआ। तो पहले से कोई प्लान था कि जुडिशियल सर्विसेज में आऊँगा, लेकिन प्रिपेयर कभी करना स्टार्ट नहीं किया। और जब प्रिपेयर करना स्टार्ट किया तो जितना टाइम था उस ड्यूरेशन में किसी तरह से पढ़ के एग्ज़ाम दिया।
अच्छा, ये बताइए कि जो हाईकोर्ट ने निर्देश दिया कि 23 साल से घटाकर 21 साल किया जाए, इसका आपको फ़ायदा मिला?
जी, बहुत फ़ायदा मिला। मुझे लगता है कि सिर्फ उसी डिसीजन की वजह से मैं एलिजिबल हो पाया हूँ।
जुडिशियल सर्विसेज को लेकर इंटरेस्ट कैसे जगा आपका? क्यों इस तरफ आना चाहते थे आप?
जी, लॉ मेरा फील्ड था, हमेशा से मैंने सोचा था कि लॉ के फील्ड में ही कुछ करूँगा। और जब मैं देख रहा था कि क्या ऑप्शंस हैं लॉ के बाद किसी करियर के लिए, तो मैंने देखा कि जजेस का बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल है सोसाइटी में। वो लोगों को न्याय देते हैं और लोगों की बातें सुनते हैं। जब लोगों को न्याय कहीं और नहीं मिलता तो वो कचहरी का दरवाज़ा खटखटाते हैं।
कि मयंक प्रताप सिंह का कहना है कि लगातार मेहनत और लगन से आप परीक्षा पास कर सकते हैं। न्यायिक परीक्षाओं के साथ भी और परीक्षाओं के लिए भी लगन और मेहनत की बेहद ज़रूरत होती है। कैमरामैन विजय सिंह के साथ नवविक्रम सिंह, राज्यसभा टीवी, जयपुर।
And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of Breakfast News. Thank you so much for your time.